Welcome to the Real Life Moms podcast. It is time to take a break from all our to-dos and carve out this time to focus on ourselves. I'm Lisa Foster, your host, and today we are diving into creating more balance and harmony in our lives. And here to help us is fellow mom and grandma. She's also a work-life balance coach, transformational mentor, and an attorney. And we have Arlene Cohen Miller with us today. So hi, Arlene. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you because you do so many different things. So I can't wait to just see how this can incorporate into our topic today. So I do hear the term work-life balance kind of thrown out a lot. And I know myself, and I think a lot of us moms are walking around kind of lopsided, maybe flip-flopping from the side to side every once in a while, but pretty lopsided. But I love how you kind of explain it a little bit. You say work-life balance and harmony. I love the word harmony. And you say it's from the inside out. So maybe you can explain your approach a little bit with us.
Yeah. So, there's all sorts of mom hacks and life hacks and work hacks. I think they're great. They give us some great ideas on how we can save our time so that we don't go like running off to the grocery and then bringing them back. And maybe we have them delivered. And there's all kinds of little things that we can do to organize our lives more efficiently so that we have time to breathe and be who we are and be who we need to be for our kids, for work, or whatever we're doing. And if we don't take care of ourselves on the inside, if we're overwhelmed, if we're anxious, if we're frustrated, if we're frazzled, if we have a lot of stuff going where we feel off balance, all those things that we do to make things better on the outside, they'll help a little bit, but they're not going to make a real difference in our lives. So I feel that it's important to start from the inside and start to heal ourselves so that we feel more, I don't know, calm assurance, more peace. Even if there's a lot of other feelings there, we can also acknowledge and accept our feelings and accept ourselves for where we're at, how we are, all the beautiful bits and all the warts that aren't perfect, because none of us is perfect. So I really like to take that approach that we're okay as we are, and we're all works in progress. And we're just going to begin to look at ourselves on the inside and see what we can heal and let go of and be more of who we truly want to be and not beat ourselves up in the process.
So it's like we're not really dealing with the main issues. There's all these like mom hacks out there, right? Like ordering groceries is amazing, right? Because that saves time, but we're really not dealing with that underlying issue of that feeling of overwhelm. So what kind of strategies do you recommend so that we can kind of get to that core piece and really deal with that feeling of that stress and overwhelm that kind of bombards us on a daily basis?
Well, there's a lot of things, but I'll start with the number one thing that I like to share, and that's when we're anxious and we're overwhelmed. Lots of times we're just breathing right up here in the top of our chest, and oftentimes we're even holding our breath. And so what that tells us physiologically is that a bear is chasing us. We need to go in fight or flight. And, we don't have time to breathe or do anything. What are we going to do? We're like a chicken with our head cut off. So there's some very simple breathing techniques that I could just share very quickly with our audience. If you breathe in through your nose and you breathe out through your nose, and your out breath is longer than your in breath, what you're doing is you're telling your body that it's okay to release, relax, soften, and let go. You're telling your body that it's okay to step out of fight or flight, into rest and relax mode. And the really cool thing about that kind of simple breath work, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, and the out breath is longer. You're standing in the line at the grocery store, you're driving your kids somewhere, you're, I don't know, someone is just talking your ear off. You can practice your breath work, because sometimes we're so kind of frazzled. It might be like 5 or 10 minutes of just playing with that breath work to really feel ourselves click and go, oh, I feel different now. And so it's not like we have to do it at a different time. A lot of the breath work that I teach, we can be washing the dishes, we can be making the beds, we can be listening to our child read a book to us. We can be doing things and no one else is going to notice, because we all have to breathe to live. And so that's why I really love breath work. We're not adding something else to our to-do list today. We're simply incorporating a new way of being and holding space for ourselves and oxygenating our bodies so that we can feel differently.
Yeah, and I do that all the time. I'll be in the kitchen and everyone's in the kitchen at the same time, right? The husband's making his breakfast, the son is making some lunch, like and no, there's no room. And I just go and I fill up my water bottle and I do exactly that. I take 5 breaths, I breathe in, I exhale longer than I had inhaled. And yeah, and it actually switches, it turns on the vagus nerve and it actually puts us from fight or flight to a parasympathetic state. And if you like have a blood pressure cuff on, it actually will show that you're decreasing that blood pressure. Because I had high blood pressure and I used to do that too, and to just cheat a little bit when I went to the doctor's office because I didn't want to be put on blood pressure meds. And it works. It just
Oh,
works.
yeah.
So I love that hack. Do you have
And I
another?
love that you know so much about it. And I think it's really cool that you tested it that way because, a lot of those blood pressure medicines, they have all kinds of side effects. If we can do things homeopathically or naturally, in a way that is loving and caring to ourselves physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, hooray, let's do that one first.
Yes. And just going on that, because I know you also do meditation, right? Do you teach meditation? Is that what you do?
I have a meditation facilitator certification. The meditation class that I run once a week is a half an hour class, and basically, what I do is I walk through a meditation that's an energy healing kind of meditation. I
Hmm.
work with energetically cleansing and clearing our bodies and fields because we take on a lot of stuff from other people and we're carrying it around and we can't let it go because it's not ours. And that helps us to feel a lot better, and also working with, it's called the universal violet flame, which helps to transmute and transform fear into love. So I do a little bit of breath work at the beginning, but mostly it's just a clearing, healing, energy, uplifting kind of meditation to let go of what's not working and to come into a new place.
And I love this, and I'm going to kind of weave it into all of this, which I'm sure you do as a coach, because I just recently added some energy work on myself. And I feel like it's been the missing piece because I do work with clients, I do cranial sacral therapy work, and yes, just family members, clients, like things can just kind of bog down on you. And what I realized what was happening for me is that I had to kind of ask myself, is this my own? What I'm feeling right now, is this actually mine? Or am I taking it from maybe my husband's energy or attitude in that moment, or my teenager's attitude in that moment, or a client? And what I realized is like a lot of times it wasn't something that really had anything to do with me, but yet in my like actual physical tissue, I felt like I was holding it. So
Yeah.
I would love for you to talk a little bit about the energy clearing a little bit.
I would love to share because it will help you as well.
Yes, thank you.
Because as a healer, it's because anytime we have an interaction with anybody, even if we think of them or they think of us, we're going to get energetic connections. And for our children, we are energetically connected for while we're both alive through our chakras. And when you work with your clients, you have to really have clear, strong, and appropriate boundaries so you don't take on their stuff. And lots of times people let things go as a client. And so with the people we love in our family, oftentimes we set separate boundaries for them. I did this for years and I was always being blasted than we did for the rest of the world. I thought that if I had clear, strong, and loving boundaries, and my boundaries are like this golden bubble, I am only open to the energies of unconditional love and higher. So if I have those boundaries for my family, all that means is that if they're in a place of fear, if they're having a reaction, I can hold a space of compassion and love and empathy and care for them. But how they feel is not going to be dumped in my energy field. And also, when you're talking about your husband and your kids and stuff like that, and what it's like in the kitchen. With the universal violet flame, it transmutes and transforms fear into love. And we can ask the universe to flood all of our energetic connections that cannot be cut, which are the sexual ones and the genetic ones. And one other one I'll talk about in a minute, with the universal violet flame. And that helps us and it helps them because it transmutes and transforms all fear into love in that energetic cord connection that's always there, connecting us to our genetic family, connecting us to any sexual partners we've ever had, and it cleanses and clears that space. So that if we have a moment of reaction, that is not affecting them. And if they have a moment of reaction, it's not affecting us. And it's one, and you can't just do it once. It's like you would never just brush your teeth once a month. It's one of these things as a healer I do every day.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I do that might be really helpful for you and your audience, as mothers, it's sometimes we think that everything is with our children and our family, but we also take on a lot of stress from what is happening in the world. And because we're in a human body, we all the time that we're in this human body, we are energetically connected with the psyche of humanity. That's the mind of humanity. That's not something I really want in today's world. It's been pretty chaotic. There's been a lot of separation energies. There's been a lot of us versus them. And so what we can do is we can ask the violet flame to flood all of our energetic connections with all men and women, with all of humanity. And so oftentimes what we're feeling as stress might be the news. It might be a group of humanity. It might be a group that we're connected with, because we also get energetically connected with any groups we're connected with. Am I going too far deep here? Are you okay?
I am like eating it up. I love this. Yeah.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay. So let's say that, you're in a religious group, or like me, I'm a yogi, or I'm an attorney. I don't practice law anymore, but I'm still licensed. So I am energetically connected to all attorneys. That's sobering. So I can also like cut cords. So
Mm-hmm.
I can like visualize the golden cylinder coming down around my body and asking the universe to cut any energetic connections that are connected to me that are not about love. Now, when we pull down that golden cylinder around us, it's going to leave the loving ones. They're not going to be bothered. But any energetic connections, maybe we had someone with a friend 5 years ago, we never cut those cords. We had a very strong disagreement or something. It would just cut those cords. Or maybe like you're working with a beautiful client on the table, they're releasing a lot of toxins. They don't even know they're doing it, but you're cutting energetic connections with them. You're in a nice golden bubble of protection so that you can be of service to them. And we can do that for ourselves as well as parents, as just human beings on this planet, so that we're cleansing and clearing ourselves. And we're going to feel more loving and kind and caring because we're not taking on all this other stuff. The only stuff we can clear is ourselves, is our own stuff. And it's going to feel different. I'm not trying to do a big push for my stuff at all, but if you're interested, I do a class in this once a week, or just take what I've given and play with it and see if it works for you.
Yeah, I've been playing with it. For me, I have this invisible cloak thing that like when I get home from work, honestly, it's like a jacket and I take it off and I just think about like anything that's not mine, I'm gonna let it out. And I think about those cords as well, like anything I'm connected to that isn't love and kindness and serving a better purpose for me, I'm gonna cut those as well. And for me, I put a house like I think of it as protecting my energy a little bit, your energy bubble, I think you said. And for me, it's a house. For some reason, it's like a house that I build, and inside it, it's flooded with this like golden, lovely light of yellowy, glowing color, and it's just warm and it feels good. And I just sit in that and I just kind of refill my bucket of everything I've dumped to fill myself back up again with something too, because I don't want to leave myself empty either from everything I've seen.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. You raise a really good point, because when we let go of all this fear, like you're talking about, you're allowing the light and love of source to flood your body. You're the golden light of source, or you can be the clear white light and the rose pink eternal love of source. If we're letting things go that are about fear, you're already doing it. You're bringing in more light and love to fill those spaces with that love. And that's really an important step. So I'm glad you shared that.
And going back to fear, fear is an anxiety definitely trickles in, right, with this overwhelm. And what I've noticed is that I feel so much more calm after doing something like that. And then once again, like if there's something, say with a family member or whatever, or a person, or actually, for instance, driving today, I had like someone just like cut me off and it was a terrible, right? Like it was safe, we were fine, but it was just kind of like that. You could feel the energy and negativity just building inside me. So what did I do? And my son's right next to me, so he sees me do it. I just kind of wrapped myself up. I threw whatever that energy that got stuck on me back out to the world, that it can get grounded somewhere else. And then I just sent a little like fuzzy pink, around that car that just passed me. And I thinking of love and kindness to them. Because normally my insides would be like, man, what did they do? Just get all worked up. And instead I was sending out love and kindness, to them, getting rid of that energy and then filling myself up again. And then I drove on. And you know what? I felt good. Like nothing stuck, nothing. I felt like really happy, healthy. And I feel like back in the other times, like that would have just stayed with me all day till I got to
Right.
dropped off my son. It would have stayed with me, came with me, and then I'm sucking up other stuff. So yeah, it's like kind of like just checking in with yourself throughout the day and getting
Yeah.
things that don't need to be there.
Yeah, I do that with cars too because it seems like drivers, and I know this is a little bit not off base, but we're parents. I'm a grandparent
Parents.
too. We drive our cars places, so and we can make that car like our sanctuary as well. I put a golden bubble around my car. I flood it with the violet flame to transmute and transform fear into love. And I guess the way I handle drivers is I have like this big dish on the back of my car. And so if people are projecting stuff at me and coming up with, and they're not listening to assured clear distance, it's like, anything you're projecting at me is going right back at you with love. That's not okay. And I
Mhm.
just hold that space. And most of the time, either they'll back way up or they'll move around me. Sometimes you get someone that won't. They're just impervious to all those energies. But that's what I do to cleanse and clear because my car's my sacred space because I'm in it a lot.
Mhm.
And with moms, you're going to be you're driving places, with your kids or whatever you're doing. So it's interesting. It all sort of weaves in together because it's just not, I'm a mom and here's my mom hat and here's my kids. There's so much else we have to take into consideration to bring that peace and that calming space to ourselves.
Yeah. Okay. So we have some breathing techniques. We have some energy clearing that we just got nerdy about. Any other real golden tips that you love for working with that overwhelm?
Yeah, I feel like, especially for women, that we are really, really good at helping other people when they're coming to us with a problem. And so I think what we can do for ourselves is just, first of all, ask the universe, let me be aware of how I'm actually talking to myself. And if we're listening to ourselves and, okay, this is what I'm saying, this is my problem, this is how I feel, just pretend like you have a really good friend standing next to you and they're sharing with you everything that you're feeling, everything that you're experiencing. And ask yourself, if my friend was saying this to me, what would I say? How would I nurture them? How would I support them? How would I champion them? If they had their head up a little bit of a dark place, how might I deliver a little bit of tough love to them to help them get out of that? And so we already have these skills. So we already know how to turn our inner critic into an inner coach because we're already doing it for other people in our lives. We just often don't do it for ourselves. So, one of the things that really drags us down is these voices that we have in our heads. Maybe we picked them up from our parents or our peers or a teacher at school. Maybe we just took things on from who knows where, but we've run with them. And sometimes these patterns and programs of how we talk to ourselves, it's so ingrained we don't even realize it's just a pattern and program. It's not who we are. And so when we can recognize this, ask the universe to be aware of this. Okay, how can I talk to myself the way I would a dear friend and start practicing giving that back to ourselves, nurturing ourselves, championing ourselves, being supportive of ourselves, giving that tough love when it's necessary, but not being that harsh inner critic with ourselves that is kind of holding ourselves to the standard of perfection and that's not attainable, or making these expectations of ourselves every day that are not reachable in a day. They might not be reachable in 2 weeks.
Mhm.
So that's something really simple. And what I would say is that if you choose to play with this, you need to be kind, patient, and tolerant with yourself because it took a long time for that shift to go in that direction. And if you want to turn it around, it's going to take some time to do that as well. But that was a big switch for me when I really saw in my 20s how I was talking to myself, how I was talking to different men that I was dating to others, all that negativity and stuff that I just thought that's how you communicated and you connected and bonded with people. I had a
Mhm.
really distorted view of reality. And we don't even realize it lots of times.
Yeah, I think it's hard, right? But I like the idea of talking as if you're talking, what would you say to a good friend?
Yeah.
And using those words. But I think it probably takes a lot of practice and also noticing when you're saying those things. Sometimes we're just so
Yeah.
in it, right? We're in this overwhelm, we're stressed out, we're just going, and then that talk of like, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough for that, or whatever it is that's rolling in your head. Sometimes you're not even noticing. It's just like normal. You notice it.
I mean, I'm like a nature girl. I know you're in Colorado as well.
Mhm.
And for me, if I feel that coming on, first of all, I don't let myself keep on going. If at all possible, I will stop and I'll go outside, even if I just feel the wind in my face, or I can see some of the mountains from the back of my house, or just stand by a tree and love the tree and have the tree love me and feel myself really grounded into the earth. I really feel like even just going outside and feeling like there's roots of light from my feet into the heart of the planet and
Mhm.
just connecting with that, or just feeling the wind, or just how beautiful it is somewhere in nature is super, super healing. I feel like Mother Nature is so healing. And to me, that's a really simple way, maybe easier than going with turning your inner critic into an inner coach in 5 minutes. Because even sometimes when it's warm outside, I'll take a cotton towel, I'll lay it in the shade in the summer, I'll lie down in the grass and just allow, you know, Gaia, the being that embodies planet Earth, to love me and I'll love her, or to feel the wind and just go, oh my gosh, this is such an amazing planet. How cool is that we're here?
Yeah, and it's true. I mean, on my drive home today, I was looking at the mountains and I'm like, I can never live anywhere that doesn't have these because it's so grounding just seeing it. But how many days do I drive home from work and don't even look at them? Right. So I think we have to remember to use what's around. I mean, here's a free, couldn't be any more free resource, right? To just go outside and take a look and see what's near you, whether it's water or mountains or a tree. And for me, it's sun. Sun is a huge healing source for me, just sitting outside.
Yeah,
It's very grounding, and there's just something about it that just makes me go, okay, I got this.
yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. And I guess I'm just going to jump ahead one here because it made me remember. I know what I do is I have some groups of women and we're all over the world. Let me just, I have a lot of people that I connect with in Australia just by chance. And we get together at least once a week online, or some of them, well, some maybe like a month in person, but we're so much stronger together. And when we're not just coming around and moaning and complaining about stuff, but we're really there to listen and uplift and support each other, it just makes a huge difference. I feel like we're better together. And it can feel really lonely sometimes if we feel like we're the only one that's experiencing something. And when then we get together with other like-minded souls and we go, oh wow, I'm not alone at all. This is a really common thing in humanity. And I can support her and she can support me and we can listen to each other. And if we need to pick up the phone or text each other, we can be there for each other. I just find that that's something that is invaluable.
And a great reminder because as a mom, especially if your kids are younger, you typically do feel a little bit like kind of trapped and alone. Like sometimes you can't get out to go see a friend or be in a group because you just can't. You don't have the care for your kids or whatever. So that is such a great reminder because there are lots of ways. And now, since the pandemic, I mean, Zoom is an incredible way to connect. I have a group of women too that I probably connect with once a month, and they are all over the world as well, Canada, Bulgaria, everywhere. And we meet and we check in with each other, how we're doing, how things are going. And you always come back so filled. So there are ways to do those type of things now, even if you can't like get out. So that is an important
Yeah.
thing too.
Yeah. And, it just, because I mean, there's all sorts of things that I do. I mean, I love yoga. I used to be a runner. My body doesn't want to do that anymore, but I
Me
still hike in the
too.
mountains and stuff like that. And so I feel also like, exercise and movement, in addition to the energetic stuff, in addition to breathing, in addition to having that connection somewhere in your life
Mhm.
that's not just family is really, really, those are some of the few of my favorite things. I've been watching all the Sound of Music stuff is coming on YouTube again. So just a flashback from the past anyway.
Yeah, movement, of course. We've talked about movement in many of these podcast episodes about how important it is to actually physically get the overwhelm out of your tissue, and movement
Yeah,
helps move it literally out of the tissue, right? So
right.
that is so important. And anytime you'll, ask any of my good friends, they'll tell you, like, when we're like, hey, you want to get together? What do I say? Yeah, meet me here. We're going to go for a walk every time. Like, that's what I do. People like, do you want to go for coffee? I'm like, sure, but let's go for a walk, and this way it gets me out, it gets me moving, and it gets just that energy out. And then pairing it with somebody who I can talk to, connect with, who also has good energy that we can share. It's just like, yeah, I come home and I don't feel stressed or overwhelmed anymore like
Right,
before.
right.
So, how do we kind of appreciate those wins, those accomplishments, those things that are really positive? How do we kind of slow it down so that we can see, and how do we celebrate them?
I love this question because I love to share this with people is that we've been taught by society, it feels like that the only thing we should really celebrate is if we reach an end goal or some big project that we're working on. But the way to really have gratitude in the cells of your body is to set up with yourself that you're going to be grateful for all the little things in your life. And I think the mistake that we make, that I made a long time ago, was that I was waiting for something to be grateful for. But we already, like you were saying, we have so much to be grateful for already. And we can even start with the foundations. I have a really comfortable bed to sleep in. I have hot water. I can take a hot shower or bath. I have good food in my fridge. I have people that love me and I love them. There's so many basic foundational things we have already created for ourselves. So the basis of having even more is to take the time to appreciate and be grateful for them. And it's important not to do it from our heads. It can just be a little thing. We get out of bed and we go, oh man, this bed is so nice. And we're washing our face or brushing our teeth and we're like, oh my gosh, my mouth feels so good. Or it can be all sorts of little things that we just, instead of being critical about ourselves, instead of looking at our bodies the way we do sometimes as women, is like, oh my God, oh, my fingers work. How amazing is that? I can do downward facing dog in yoga. I mean, all those little things, if we just appreciate a few little things and don't try to make a big long list,
Mhm.
how we feel about our life is going to start to fundamentally change. And how we bring ourselves to the table, which is why it's nice to talk about exercise and breath work and things like that, really makes a difference in how we experience things in our life. And if
Mhm.
we really have those things with the grounding stuff and the breathing, so we're fully present and we're not in the past or the future, but we're here now, it's just going to be so much easier to feel grateful for something because it's really amazing. I mean, one way I do it is I'll just sort of surf through some music and I have some favorite people from blast from the past and they sing a song and I am just, there's tears running down my cheeks and I'm so happy. I feel relieved and uplifted afterwards. We all have certain things like that bring in the gratitude if we feel stuck. And if we don't feel it, just choose it. I choose to be grateful. I am choosing to be grateful. And eventually we're going to start feeling it, even if we're in that overwhelm.
Well, I love that you said, I love the way you put it, to feel, because I think I do it much more in the head. Like sometimes I'm just like, I'm grateful I woke up this morning. I do the small stuff. That's big though, right? Like, hey, we're actually here today. Awesome. You never know. Um, but I love the idea of feeling it and just taking a moment, like when I'm in the sunshine. I mean, I've never said, wow, I'm really grateful for this like heat on my face that's just like filling my body, because that's how I feel and I feel great, but I never take the moment to do that. So I'm going to try to challenge myself to actually feel being grateful versus just in my head saying the things I'm grateful for. Because a lot of times it's like, well, I'm grateful for my family and my house and we kind of like have this little list and we almost feel like we have to say those things. But I love the idea of feeling like, oh, I'm really grateful for this minty flavor in my mouth today from this toothpaste. Like that could be
Mhm.
really cool.
Well, I'm going to challenge you because when you shared about the sun, I could feel your gratitude. And we
Yes.
don't always have to say, I'm grateful. I could just feel you sitting in the sun, head back, basking in it and enjoying every minute. And that's gratitude. You don't have to really say, I'm grateful on top of that because your energy that you were sharing was so joyful and so grateful that you were already embodying it because you really do appreciate the sun. And
Mhm.
I think that lots of times maybe we don't even see that in ourselves to even acknowledge that.
Yeah, so true. And when I said it, I could feel it too. Like I felt it different. I was like, yeah, this is like in my core. And so
Yeah.
now that I know that feeling, so I challenge the listeners to try to do that, or even have a friend to like someone that can tell them what they're seeing. But I challenge the listeners when you feel that thing that you are really grateful for at the core level, yeah, bottle it up and see where else that we can feel that too, or what else, other things we feel that with. So, yes,
Yeah.
okay, that's going to be my challenge. I love that.
Yeah. And sometimes they have these cute little videos on, I know need to not scroll through stuff so much, but it's like a parent see the kids do something for the first time and they're so excited. And
Yeah.
you can feel it and you can identify with it and it gives you something. Or you watch Britain or Americans Got Talent and someone just who doesn't look like they have anything, they get on there and they just
Mhm.
their passion, their emotions, everything they're bringing the whole self to the table just blows you away. You have tears running down your cheek. You're sharing it on Facebook with all your friends. There's just, sometimes we know that there's things that we can go to that can bring us back and help us let go of stuff if we feel stuck.
All right, you gave us so many great tips of looking at overwhelm differently. I think like when people talk about overwhelm, they talk about like how can we get out of this situation? How can we balance our life? But I like that you're giving us tools, like you said from the beginning, really working on your inside to then feel more balanced and then your life being more balanced on the outside, really. So I love that perspective of it. Tell us where the listeners can find you.
Well, if you're in the States or Canada, you can always text me. Don't leave a voicemail. I usually don't get those, but text I do respond to 720-936-2634. My website is Jewel, Jewel, consultancy.com. I'm on LinkedIn at Arlene Cohen Miller. But I guess my website or just you can, if you type in Arlene Cohen Miller, Cohen Miller, you'll find me all over the place. So that's how you can find me. I'd love to hear from you.
And what kind of services do you provide?
I provide work-life balance and harmony coaching for women. I provide transformational mentoring for men and women. So coaching is that I know that you have all the answers inside of you. I'm going to walk alongside of you, ask you powerful questions, maybe share some intuition or what I'm noticing about you, and help you get to a different place, but you're taking the lead. As a mentor, I'm helping you to stand on my shoulders with all that I know about healing and balancing and nurturing and moving to the next step that I've learned from being a mom and all the different courses and things I've delved into. And I also do soul readings, which are a form of mentoring. I'm not psychic, but I do heart connect with you. And I can help you see like opportunities that are available and what you need to move forward and around obstacles and where to from here. So those are some of the things I do. And I like to keep them really holistic and heart based. I don't think it's really helpful to do things. I mean, we need our heads to make lists and everything, but we use them way too much. So I like to really help people, work from the heart to move forward.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. And I'll have those links in the show notes so people can easily contact you if they are looking to. Is there anything you want moms to do after they finish listening? And what's the first thing they should go out and do?
Well, one thing you could just do is just ponder, something that you can acknowledge yourself for today and maybe celebrate. And sometimes we've been, like we hardly drag our butt out of bed, and it might just be I've had a real hard week and I got myself out of bed. I made my bed, I showered, I did a few of the things I needed to do. Job well done based upon everything that's happened in life. And I still took a few steps forward. But we always have something that we can acknowledge ourselves for and celebrate. Love yourself enough to give that to yourself, because when we fill ourselves up with love and share the overflow with other people, we're going to have a lot more love and care to give to them, and we're going to feel a lot different within ourselves.
Yeah, so true. We won't feel as depleted. I like that
Right.
you share the overflow. That is the key, not coming from a place of being depleted. But thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming and talking to us. This was so much fun, and I love having another like-minded person always on to talk to, and someone who's also local. So amazing.
Yeah. Two Coloradans together. That woohoo. First time in all the podcasts I've ever done. So very exciting.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode. It was so nice to speak with Arlene and just get a different perspective on how we can work with overwhelm and really strengthen ourselves from the inside out. Arlene gave us so much information, and if you'd like to connect with her, just click on the link in the show notes to access some of her services. And until next week, keep carving out time for yourself. Start practicing some of those breathing techniques. Maybe try some of that energy clearing and also thinking about and feeling those things that you are grateful for. And don't forget to join us next Tuesday, where we'll have another incredible mom with another amazing conversation.